Welcome to Bleav in Chargers. Lorenzo Neal is back as we are back for another installment, preseason, exhibition season, roster cutdowns, week 3, going into Dallas. The first road game of the exhibition season is coming up, so a lot to dig into here on Bleav in Chargers. A thank you to you for all of your support, the reviews, the likes, the engagement, especially on YouTube. Anything you want to throw out there, we like to get into those comments and dig around and try to engage with you as best as possible. So thanks for all of that. But let's get to the all-decade performer, one of the best to ever do it. Lorenzo Neal, you were in Nairobi for what? A day? For 2 days? It was UAE a couple weeks ago for like 48 hours, and now
Yes,
Nairobi. And a tip of the
yes.
cap to Andrew Siciliano for helping us out last week. What were you doing?
I'm always on the go. I got a buddy
Right?
down there, in Uganda, and it's just interesting just to travel, to be able to go in and just get a different perspective. And a lot of things you hear and you see, it's not what you expect. And a lot of things you hear, you're so grateful to be in this great country. But then, you go and you hear about a lot of the nightmares, and then you go and actually experience and see the different culture. And it's great to just expand your horizon. So in and out, doing some traveling, trying to get in, and think about where I'm going to go for, a extended time. I'm tired of these quick in and out trips. So
Gotcha.
it was really neat though to go and travel, to go across. I was in Nashville, went and watched the Niners and the Titans play, and remember the Music City Miracle, of course, and
Oh, yeah.
to be on that field where it all happened and see a lot of the guys, Blaine Bishop, Brad Hopkins, all the guys that I played with. So sometimes you just go and bounce around, and sometimes just to be able to do that.
Wait a minute,
Money.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Be on the field to see it happen. Oh, you were part of the Music City Miracle. I mean, you touched the ball.
Exactly.
You're
The
an
big
integral part of the Music City Miracle. Be on the field.
Hey, money. I got to be modest. Like,
Yeah.
I learn from you, money. I take notes from you, but yeah.
Don't do
But
that. I have nothing to boast or brag about. You do. Yeah,
no, but
you received the kick, right? You had to make
yeah,
sure you got it to Frank and got that thing rolling.
got it rolling over the dice, and so it was crazy. 16 seconds on the clock, and just being out there on the field and seeing the guys and like watching the ball being kicked. I'm just like, those memories, they're just etched in your mind,
Yeah,
and just remembering looking up at the clock, 16 seconds on the field, and you knowing we need a miracle, and you think in your back of your mind, you think, okay, this is possible, but really not probable. It's like, okay, God, it's been a great season, and you're like, man, it's getting ready to come to an end. And the play that you practice week in and week out, it was called home run throwback, aka now the Music City Miracle. But we would practice it every single Friday and walk through at the end of practice. And we're like, when are we ever going to use this? And I remember the special team coach Fisher called us up. Alan Lowry said, hey, guys, Music City Miracle. Home run throwback. This is what we're going to do. We're putting it in. And I remember we make the decision. Okay, we're doing it. I remember walking out in the field and I said, Frank, they're going to kick me this ball. Come get it. Because I could have threw it or whatever, but it's like,
right.
no. And I knew that, hey, they were going to come to me. I didn't tell anyone else. I just told Frank. So he and I were on the same page. So I remember it kicked, and it was like yesterday. The ball's going in slow motion, money, and it's like, oh my goodness, keep your arms in. Don't let this thing get, my big old pads. I'm like, okay,
Sure.
catch this ball. I remember just like, it looked like taking forever, and it finally lands in the hand. Remember taking a couple steps, pitching it back to Wycheck, making a block, and just engaging in the block, and just hearing the crowd go from quiet to a little louder to a little. It was absolutely amazing moment, and it just still gives me chills thinking about it.
As it should. It's one of the iconic plays in NFL history, and it's what they're looking for. Special teams, kickoffs. It's the most exciting play in football. There's a reason why they call it that. We think about Hall of Fame, and kind of we just had the inductions, and Devin Hester, arguably the best to ever do it, finally gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and the guy returned a kick in the Super Bowl, to open the Super Bowl, for goodness sake. So yes, love that you had that opportunity.
Definitely well deserved. We're definitely well deserved.
Yeah.
Shoot, making that transition, you look at the Chargers, talking about special teams. God, where do we begin talking about the Chargers with their special teams? I know the kicker is there. He looks the extra points, the field goals. I mean, the guy has an unbelievable leg. The ball just kind of curves in there. But, man, when you talk about some other points, I think that's one of those things that this Charger team getting ready for the season, have to make some corrections and get some things fixed.
Yeah, the Chargers played the Rams, and Cameron Dicker, of course, was a Ram for a second after they moved on from him. And kickers are funny. You think about the kickers that and where they end up and how they end up there. And sometimes they're high draft picks. You think, and they don't work out. You think about Roberto Aguayo, yep. That didn't work out. But then you think about Justin Tucker, and that works out. And Younghoe Koo, who was a disaster for the Chargers in 2017, those first 3-4 games, and then he becomes the best kicker in football for a minute there with the Falcons, and is still one of the best kickers in football. And that's the Cameron Dicker situation, is somehow that guy bounced from the Rams to the Eagles and ends up on the Chargers and just put together the two best seasons, first 2 seasons for a kicker in the history of the NFL.
Unbelievable.
96% conversion rate, and has now banged a 58 and a 55 like they were extra points in the preseason. Meanwhile, J.K. Scott, who was sort of left, I don't mean to make it a derogatory kind of description, but, the Packers were like, no, we're good. Move on from him. Ryan Ficken, who was the special teams coach in Minnesota, of course, now the Chargers special teams coach, says, oh, no, this dude could punt. We knew we weren't getting any returns when this guy was punting in Green Bay, and so they take his advice. They sign him last year, and what's he do? He leads the league in fair catches and in hang time. And now they've got that. They ended up paying, making Josh Harris the highest paid long snapper in football. He's an all-pro year in and year out, and now you've got your specialist locked down. And it's the best specialist room in the league. And that's certain. And then on top of that, you got Darius Davis, who was the all-pro punt returner last year. So I commend, commend the previous regime for recognizing how important, the special teams are and putting this team together. And I commend, the current regime for not moving on from Ryan Ficken and for extending these guys and making sure they're going to be around for a while. I think if you were to talk offense, defense, special teams, special teams has been the best thing that this team's got going right now. And look, they're still trying to figure out some of the coverages and sort this kickoff thing out. But overall, that's kind of the one unit where, and again, so much credit goes to Coach Gold and Coach Ficken for what they do with these guys, but also just how great, and Lo, you know about special teams and how important they are. And that's going to go a long way as we kind of work our way through what we think this 53 might look like before it gets settled, before the next time we come back on.
Oh, no question. And they have the guys to execute. You have the guys, I'm talking about the punter. You have a great punter that can hang time. Now, do you have the guys that's going to cover to make that punt validate? That's what you got to make sure you have. When you're talking about field goals, you have a great field goal kicker, a kickoff guy, but can the cover team? And those are the things that we're going to be able to see with, the kickoff return now change and all the different dynamics. So those are going to be the still questions because we haven't seen enough of it. But you went out and spent for a punt return. You got the money. You went out and got the punter. You got the field goal kicker for the last couple of years. So all those are in place. Now you got to get that 53-man, whoever's going to be on that 53-man roster. Those are going to be those important pieces for special teams because special teams are going to play a big part, and they will win games and lose games this year for the Chargers, for everyone in the league.
Yeah, no question. And I never thought saying a punter's name would be considered name dropping, but I was on with Pat McAfee maybe last year, might have been the year before, and no, it was actually before that because it was the Matt Araiza year when he was coming out, and we were somehow got on I think I was at the Combine, and we got on the discussion of Araiza and where do you draft him, and I was kind of bringing that up with him, and he made a great point. He said, look, if I'm a punter, I fight for these guys. He said, but if you're a team that doesn't play exceptional defense, there's no point to have and invest in a great punter. He's like, what's the point? And we just, and I bring it up because Coach Harbaugh addressed exactly this after the game against the Rams. He said, what is the point of spending money so your punter can pin a team at the 5-yard line and they're going to convert 3 first downs regardless because your defense sucks and it defeats the purpose. And so that's one of the things. JK had a great punt, pins the team back on like the 2-yard line. And what happens? First down. And Coach Harbaugh said, look, you cannot allow them we've at least got to flip the field.
Yep.
One first down at most in that situation. You have got to take advantage of the field position. And that it made me think back to that conversation I had with Pat and what the identity of this team is. Yes, we've got a punter. He's going to pin guys deep. You better get off the field. Do not give them more than 10 yards. So at the very least, we reward our punter for flipping the field and we give our offense the ball close to midfield and have an opportunity to that's what people forget about special teams, especially the punt team is that's how you get 3 points.
Absolutely.
You boom a punt, you cover it, you force a 3 and out, and bang, you're now taking over at the 50.
Absolutely. You get one first down and you're in field goal range. At least you have a chance. So you're absolutely right. Field position is everything. And that's how you flip the field. And that's what Harbaugh and you talking to McAfee. Those are very crucial points for this team for success. You have to realize, especially in the AFC, when you look at Mahomes, Raiders, all the different teams that you're going to be playing against, field position is going to be a premium. When your defense can go out there and get 3 and out, but if you have a weapon, a special teams weapon, a punter, JK, that can kick the ball and punt the ball like that and pin them with inside the 5 or 10, and you only allow 1 first down or don't allow just a 3 and out, now you kick the ball, you're on the 50, you get 1 first down and you're kicking and getting 3 points.
Right.
That is huge in football games. And that's why Harbaugh and that's why the rest of the league is saying, look, field position, special teams is huge.
Yeah, and that's especially like you just said, when you have a kicker that's banging 58-yarders like it's nothing in the preseason, that's exactly what you're speaking to, is play complementary football, play to your strengths. Your strengths are you've got a kicker that can boot the heck out of the ball, and you don't need much in terms of field position to give him an opportunity.
You don't, Matt. But at the flip side of that, though, is 3 points going to, if you just keep getting 3, is that going to win? Do you have a quarterback? And that's what I kind of want to ask you. Of course, we know who Herbert is. Right. But do you have your number 2? And if so, can you win with him?
So, yeah, let's dig into that, right? They don't play Max Duggan. He gets cut because Herbert's back. So it's Stick and Luis Perez. Perez played the second half. Stick played the first. Stick moved the ball really well. And I think we might have talked about this. I don't remember if we did or not, but it was actually we probably didn't because it was Andrew that was on. But it was funny being out of practice after what was a bit of a messy game in preseason game 1 from Easton Stick. And so at practice, what am I watching? I'm watching mesh. I'm watching option, and it's like, okay, we got to get this guy comfortable. Let's put him in a position to do what he excels at. And I thought they did a great job of that. You saw a lot of that, a lot of RPOs, a lot of mesh, a lot of, pull and keep, and Easton doing what he does really well. And that's run the ball, read the defense. If that end's collapsing, here we go. And I thought it went great. Unfortunately, critical mistakes. You can't fumble the ball on the 1-yard line. No. You can't throw, off a wide base and, off a wonky base and get a tip ball for an interception. Like, that's the stuff you can't do. But I was definitely encouraged. He looked a lot better. He looked a lot more comfortable. They moved the ball well. And what I kept telling Charger fans that were freaking out, and I was happy to engage with them, is, look, if they didn't think Herbert was, and this was before Herbert was out of the boot and was back at practice, I said, if they thought this was a serious concern that he wouldn't be able to start the season, that he might be out the first month, they would have made a move. There would have been a trade for somebody's 3, or there would have been a free agent signing of someone like Ryan Tannehill. Something like that would have happened. But I can say with great certainty, Herbert's fine, and he's going to be fine. And that means they can wait this out. They can give Easton Stick, because he's great in the room. He's incredibly smart. Justin loves having him on the sideline to chop it up after he comes off from a series. And the 2 of them, you'll always see them and Shane Day huddle together. It's the 3 of them that are going over things. And if you put your eyes on them, and you can't when you're on when you're watching on TV, but when you're at the game, if you're at the game, fans, look where Herbert goes. And that's when you're going to see him basically listening and engaging with Stick, who's, not like a teacher, but as another set of eyes. And I think Herbert, he values that. He loves having that. And so the question's going to be at the end of this, does Easton do enough? Does he improve enough to make Coach Harbaugh and Coach Roman comfortable and Joe Ortiz comfortable being his backup? Or are they going to make a move? Are they going to pluck a 3 that gets cut somewhere else? Because there's plenty of them that they've worked with in the past. And I could see that then becoming sort of their path. Like, hey, we don't need to spend a bunch of money on this. This is not Herbert's fine. The guy played 62 consecutive games before he fractured that finger on a dumb play on 4th down when they should have kicked the field goal and they had him go for it instead. And I don't even want to get into that and rehash that, but he's an Iron Man. 62
Right.
straight games with cracked ribs, with all the issues that he has. He plays through it. So I think I know that was a very long-winded answer, but that's kind of what my interpretation of what we're watching right now.
Yeah, and I can tell you, when I couldn't play the game anymore, the team have to move on. Touch you on the shoulder and say,
Yeah.
hey, appreciate what you can do, but we're good. I can tell you right now, I've seen enough of Sticks to think that, hey, look, I think that, like you said, hey, this is a guy that is good for Herbert, that is not going to necessarily play, but he's going to keep him calm, and he's going to give him be those extra set of eyes like a coach on the field. I agree. I think you can do that so long, then you got to move on. I think because if something happens to Herbert, and here's the deal, what Herbert had played with those fractured ribs, if you have a backup guy that's
Right.
comparable to go in and give you 2 to 3 games. Did Herbert hurt you in some of those games where he should have been playing, probably shouldn't have been playing? He's an Iron Man. He'll suck it up and go. But he understood you need him. You need his best. And his being hurt with the broken rib is better than what 50 to 60% or 70% of the rest of the league can do. So I understand those parts of it, but I think when you are doing that at times, you have to be careful because you're going to injure your multi-million-dollar contract guy in Herbert, your 500 million guy. You don't want that.
Right.
If you have a guy that is serviceable for 2 weeks, for a week, to get him back to full go, or 80% instead of playing at 60, give me a good backup that's going to allow my quarterback to get to 70 instead of playing at 50. So give him just 1 week. That's huge. It's huge money in this league. And you have a guy in Sticks that, yes, smart guy, like you said, can run physical, but like you said, I'm watching the interception, beat wide base. That throw should be caught. That's a bad ball. Gets out, gets a bit away from him. Underneath center on the goal line, boom. The week before you struggled against Seattle. Yeah, there were some drops too, but this is a guy that's a veteran guy. This isn't a guy that's in the first year anymore. You got to look at this guy and say, okay, I got to have something happens. I have to have a backup plan. I have to have a guy that can go out there and just maintain, just if he's going to play for 2 or 3 weeks, win 1 of the 3 games. I don't know if you have that. And here's our defense right now. Yeah, it's an okay defense. We don't know what it's going to be. Last year was one of the worst against the run. We know you got pass rushers, but we don't know what it is yet. We know it's going to be better, but you're going to have to score some points. You're in a conference that you have to score. Field goals, you got one of the best field goal kickers in the league. We understand that. But field goals are not going to win you a championship, and it's not going to get you where you need to go. You got to have more consistency. And yes, this is a preseason. I understand that. But just outside looking in for the first 2 weeks and what I've seen of Sticks, I don't feel comfortable saying if this guy has to play for 4 weeks that you're going to win 2 of the 4 games. I don't feel comfortable yet.
Yeah, I think it's fair. He had 4 starts last year and didn't win any of them. So I think it's fair. Close, had 3 starts and 1, played most of the game. So I think it's a fair point, no doubt.
I'm not.
Look, we've seen what this team is now doing. And it looks different, right? Where they are churning. We have not seen them churn like this, where it's Max Duggan, see you later. They are moving on from guys, and Shaq Quarterman signed this last week. They signed 5 guys, right? Tucker Fisk, Shaq Quarterman. They brought back Savion Jackson. And by the way, look at the payoff. T.R. Tart's making this team. T.R. Tart was on fire in that game against the Rams, having been on this roster for 2 weeks, and he's someone that was part of the number 1 run defense in the league when he was in Tennessee, so we know that it's there. The production is there. Strange that Miami cut him after signing him as a free agent. It's someone that Jim Harbaugh said we looked at. We wanted him in free agency, didn't get him, so this really was something when he became available. And the second he was cut, I knew it. I was like, dude, this guy is perfect for what they are looking for. On the interior of their line, and man, did he flash. He flashed so he is making the team. And that's, I think, something to Isaiah Wooden they brought in at wide receiver, guy that's got, his 10 split at his pro day reportedly was so fast the computer wouldn't accept it. So take that for what it's worth. There's probably a reason why the computer wouldn't accept it, but it was a 1.38 is what they said he ran the 10 split in, which is just stupid. So they bring him in for a look. So they're churning, and they've already done it. They already brought the safety back, and they already brought in another linebacker. So, and to me, that signals what you talked about earlier: special teams. We've got to try to figure this out. But so to the point now that I took that circuitous route to get here on Stick, I think the question then becomes, okay, if we have a 53-man roster, can we find another quarterback that's on the active roster? If we put Stick on the practice squad, he's probably going to sail through. I don't think anyone's going to claim him. You never know. Shane Steichen's in Indy. He loves him. I know there were some other teams that were sniffing around this offseason for a fact. I just don't want to share it because it was stuff that was shared with me that wasn't for public consumption, but you'd be surprised at who one of them was. So I wonder if they would claim him. And I think and you played with someone, Lo, that was very particular about who was in the room with them. You did not feel good about Kellen Clemens getting into a game if Phillip Rivers got hurt.
No.
That was Phil's guy.
Absolutely.
And Phil was like, he's an extension of me. He sees it.
Yep.
I want to talk to him when I get to the sidelines because he helps me out and I trust him. And that's why Kellen Clemens was a Charger for like 5 years, because it was Phil's guy and it made Phil comfortable, and he never got hurt and he played every game. And so that was value for the Chargers. Okay, well, this is going to make Philip better and we don't anticipate him getting hurt, then we're keeping Kellen Clemens. That's just what it is. So I think that's where the discussion will come in. Can we put Stick on the practice squad, essentially make him a coach, and he's able to do what he needs to do with Herbert, and then you can get, a PJ Walker, a Tyler Huntley, one of those guys that are a 3 and a little bit down in the pecking order that you think might be a better fit for this offense and what they want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's where I think they're going to lead to that, because I remember playing in New Orleans, and we had a guy, Steve Walsh, played Florida.
Yeah.
You remember?
I remember.
I knew. I had to take you down memory lane. I knew you would know.
Yeah.
So here's a guy that he couldn't play in the league, had a soft arm, couldn't throw.
Oh my God, soft arm's an understatement.
but he was smart. Here's a guy that was smart, that could go in and had Wade Phillips, had Jim Everett, that he was still a good springboard for those guys because he knew where to go with the ball. He understood coverage. So there's a lot of guys like that go and play John Kitna, that go and play 7, 10, 12, 14 years in a backup role because of their IQ.
Right.
Shoot, we had one in San Diego that, that Phillip gets hurt, and probably we would have won another game in the AFC, Billy Volek. But played in Tennessee, but was a good backup, smart, understood it. Wasn't necessarily a starter, but was good enough to hold it down while your starter got healthy. You need those guys, Matt, in this league, and you need those guys if you have a championship caliber team. That's why you have to have that. Why do you think now in the Niners, you look at what happened to them when they go to NFC championship game 2 years ago? Oh, by the way, and what they have? Garbage. Absolute garbage. What happened? That game was over. You didn't have anyone to back up because you said, okay, he's not going to get hurt. And what happened? He got hurt in that NFC game, and the game was over. You better, when you're a championship caliber team. Now, if you ain't close to being a championship caliber team, then don't do it. But you look what the Niners have done this year. They went out and got Dobbins. You went out and got another back. You want to make sure that, hey, Dobbins isn't necessarily a starter, but guess what? Dobbins, if he has to go 4 games, the guy's going to win you one or two of those games. That's what I'm talking about. The Chargers need to be thinking in the mindset. If you're thinking this is a playoff caliber team, you got to do that.
I'll share this story with you. I will keep the names.
Okay.
You'll I think anybody listening will probably be able to figure it out. But guy gets drafted by the Bears in the first round, and shows up. Steve Walsh is the quarterback, and he's like, "Why did they draft me?" It's like they're running me on go routes. I'm running deep outs. He goes, "Money. I'm telling you, man, I'm running a 15-yard out. This guy can't get me the ball." And I just say to myself, what happened to my career? I'm screwed. I'm completely screwed.
See, Steve, that's Steve. His arm was.
Why do these guys draft me? It's like, it's terrible.
What you do? You just laugh. You're like, oh my God. And then you start watching it and you're like, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. I remembered it. I was like, oh, I remember those games. I absolutely 100% remember it. And oh yeah, those are, and no, that, but I'll say this, like that speaks to the quarterback situation. Like for people, yes, you can churn linebacker, you can churn O-line. Well, you can't really churn O-line. There's no offensive lineman out there. You can churn linebacker. You can try to dig up some secondary guys. Those sort of, there's wide receivers everywhere. There's not quarterbacks out there. You know, they signed Luis Perez coming off, because he's a spring football MVP, but he's not been able to make it in the league. That's why he was available. So that's going to come at roster cutdowns if they're going to make a move. So don't get impatient.
Right.
I'd love to see Stick work it out. I think people know how much I appreciate him and how hard he works.
He's a great guy.
He's a great dude. How hard he works to make. He's comfortable in that role. I'm here to make Justin better. But at the same time, as you said, this is a team that we think has big things ahead of it. And that's where the tough questions, there's no reason for it not to apply to quarterback. Bet online, though. This applies to you, the world's most trusted betting platform, number one source for everything football, from the preseason NFL to college. Kicking off, Bet Online has every stat matchup and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. You can get in on that. Think you know your stuff. Get in on the winner take all $300,000 NFL Survivor Pool for the upcoming season. And remember, when there aren't any games, they got the online casino with the blackjack, poker, and slots. Head to the website today. Use the promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. I'm going to kind of go through a couple of the things from the game, preseason game 2, Lo, because I thought there were some interesting things that came out of it. One, we already talked about Tier Tart. He's making the team. There's no question in my mind that he is making the team. 2, something that DJ in the booth repeatedly was pointing out, Dean Leonard's going to push someone for this outside corner job. He is going to push someone.
Oh, he was jumping on everything the kid can play. Yeah, he got a couple penalties, but the guy is aggressive. He breaks on the ball. He's got great hips. D. Leonard was balling. I'm glad you mentioned 33. That guy, he was jumping stuff. Watch the way he sets, understanding 3rd and 3 or short. He stopped at the sticks, set his feet, understanding that route. He reads coverage as well. I like the way this young guy plays. Money, you're absolutely right. He's going to push someone.
Yeah, he was a star in that game. Interesting to see what they're doing with JT Woods. Has not worked out as that high safety, but someone who had ball production in college. He's long, he's fast, he's a 4.3 guy. So starting in practice last week was the first time that I saw him at outside corner, and they were starting to work with him there. Ended up getting about, I'd say 15, 20 snaps in the Rams game at outside corner. He was never targeted. But he's been good early this week in practice. Got his hands on a couple balls, dropped a couple interceptions, but that'll come. So I think that's what they're trying to figure out, and I think that's his opportunity to make this team. I think if that doesn't work out, my guess is they're probably like, hey, it's not going to work out at safety, and so let's see if we can make it, because the traits are there. I mean, he is long, he is fast, he's pretty fluid. He looks comfortable flipping his hips. And so I think this is now kind of just sort of a crunch time. Let's see if we can just slam this in and make it work so we can keep him on this roster. Because I've got my 53 right now, Lo, and it's at 54. And I'm just trying to figure out where that one guy is going to come off. And so he's kind of at that corner spot where I put him in the corner group, which I've got 7 right now, as opposed to in the safety group where Finley has taken over that 3rd safety spot, and I just have 3. And I think because maybe in a pinch you can maybe trust Woods in that safety, but somebody else that flashed, and I think this is going to make it tough now. Yeah. We've been talking Brennan Rice. Simi Fajoko's, he's just better. That's all there is to it. He's better.
87?
87.
He's better. He's better. He's better ball control with his hips. He knows to get the ball at the high point. You watch him beat people on the routes. He's 2nd and 3rd effort. He'll get up and make plays. He plays throughout the whistle. He's better. You saw Rice, unfortunately, drop a pass. You see, you catch the easy ones, and you can't be lethargic doing it. Holcomb's better. 87 made plays. He was a guy, knows how to beat coverage, can beat man stacks with stacked DBs, saw what he was looking for, being able to get open. He was a star. Yeah. And your other boy, Johnson, you always talk about, hey, he had some good plays, caught
He
the ball
did.
at the high points. I thought that he did a great job as well.
Yeah. Thumbs up.
Thumbs
Thumbs
up, baby.
down. Thumbs up, not thumbs down. And that's what we saw in that game. I mean, he snatched that ball, and I know he didn't get his feet in bounds. It was impossible for him to get his feet in bounds. He got shoved. But to see him make that triangle and that's something that he just wasn't comfortable doing last year, and that's coming along. And the routes look great. They're so much more crisp. Q's making the team. I mean, unless somebody decides to flip him a pretty high draft pick, but I don't foresee that happening because I just don't think a team would want to stick their neck out that much at this point. So that's one that's going to be interesting because I don't think they're carrying 7 wide receivers.
Nor do I. And Woods, they brought Woods. They put him in the box, and he made a play in the backfield. We saw JT make a play in the backfield.
Yeah, exactly.
So they brought him out to safety position, so you can move him around at times. So yeah, he is long. 72. I forget his name. It's slipping right now. 72 on defensive line. Big boy plays.
Gerard Clark. I think that's Gerard Clark.
Yeah, well, I thought.
Let me see. I think that's Clark because Okoye is 69. 72, I think, is Clark. Yes, it is. Yeah, Gerard Clark. He flashed last year.
Let me tell you, the kid can play.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on him. I watched him take on the 2-tech. I watched him in that 1 technique and 2-tech, and watch him push the power back. I'm watching him beat guys. I like him. I like him, Money. So I really believe he'll make this team.
Well, here's what I think. I think they're gonna carry 6 defensive linemen, which is a lot. So, and I don't have him in that group. That defensive line group I have, obviously, your starters: Morgan Fox, Poona Ford, Tito Abonia. There's 3, and then behind them, I have Scott Matlock. They love Scott Matlock. That would be maybe the guy he would push if you were going to figure something out. They just drafted a Boygby. They know he's a developmental prospect in the 4th round. He's not going anywhere. And then I got Tier Tart. I just think Tier Tart. So that's kind of maybe where, and that's carrying 6 is a lot.
Oof,
and that
is okay.
So that's the only issue with Gerard Clark. But he flashed last year, and they called him up off the practice squad a couple times last year. He was active in a few games. Okay. So I think Coastal Carolina, big body, built like a storage freezer.
He is.
So that's that.
Space eater.
Exactly right. A space eater. So let's see who else we mentioned. Oh, I'll tell you who. Listen, this is going to sound crazy, and maybe it's recency bias. You sign a guy on Wednesday, and on Saturday, he is motioning all over the place. And he's in the backfield. He's an offset eye. He's in power eye. He's attached. He's in motion. He's pulling. The fact that Tucker Fisk got here on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, and he's a Stanford guy, so he's freaking
smart guy.
Brilliant. But the amount that they put on his plate, and Lo, you would appreciate it, man. He's 44's out there making blocks. He is out there making blocks. And so when I think about that tight end room, if they're going to carry 4, obviously it's Disley Hurst. I think it's this Stone Smart, Donald Parham battle for that receiving tight end. And I just feel like Smart's ahead of him. So you kind of have that guy. Right. I don't think you need 2. I don't envision this team carrying 2.
No.
And I just think Tucker Fisk fills that fullback, because he's so much more athletic than McFadden in that role, and his calves, they're like eggplants. They're massive, they're just massive. There's so much power in that body. So I just think, to me, that's one that flashed. I was like, okay, he does this again. I think this is what and it's no coincidence, I think, that they gave him 44, the same number as Ben Mason, who they had hoped would fill that role out of Michigan, someone that Harbaugh was comfortable with. And so if he does this again, I think you could end up having him as that 4th tight end. And that's what they need. They need tight ends that can block. They're going to be out there in 13. You bet your tail they are.
I'm with you. I thought your boy, you said he was going to do something 30, running back.
Come on, here's the next one I was going to. Kamani Vidal.
You called this one. He runs tough, runs behind his pads. He's physical, gets downhill, and he's small. But that's
you can't see him.
You can't see him. But I was like, okay. I said, Money's talking about this guy. So I pulled it up, watched him a little bit. I said, let me go back and see a couple more plays. I said, Money, that's good eyes. Money, you've been on that one.
Yeah, he's tough. He's tough, and he's, he he's not Darren Sproles. That's not the
No.
style, but in that sort of fashion. And there was a play where he looked like Austin Eckler now. There was a little Austin Eckler play where he hid, he was patient, the hole open, and then pop. He's in it, and he's gone before the defense knew where he was because they didn't see him. And that was Austin's specialty when he was between the tackles. He was patient, and he had that power and burst to blow that linebacker out of the hole if they were, or the safety out of the hole if they were waiting for him on the fit.
Sure.
And to me, so that's the other one I have circled. They love Jared Patterson. They love him. He's working hard. He's busting his tail. But I almost wonder if it's like, are we going to carry that fourth back? For a team that wants to run it as much, it makes sense. But also, it's like, because I got to figure this thing out. I got to get it to add up because right now I got 54 for 50, and that's the trick. So that's kind of what comes out of that game. You said it: Vidal, Dean Leonard, Fehoko, Joe Alt was exceptional. That's 2 games now that we've seen it. It's like, okay, here we go.
Big Joe can play. Big Joe can play.
He's pulling, he's finishing, he's pancaking. He didn't allow a single pressure. It's just,
he's a football player. I like Joe, and listening to him on the sideline and just watching what he does. This is a good team, but they got good guys. And you always talk about the group of men that they have in that locker room on that ball club are good men. You listen at Joe and you think about Khalil Mack. I say, look, Joe, guys don't, he's a veteran. When Khalil Mack walks up to you and say, look, man, hey, Joe, this is how I would play you. This is what you should do. And you don't think that this guy's being a sponge, is just grabbing that information when you have a all-pro type of linebacker, all-pro pass rusher telling you how they're going to play you, what guys are going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what he is, a student of the game. This is Khalil Mack, a student of the game, and making Big Joe, a student of the game, because Joe's a football player and he wants to be great. And when you got guys like him, Mack and Bosa as practice guys and guys that are willing to share information, because a lot of guys don't do that.
Right.
A lot of guys aren't like that.
They want to dominate you.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's great. All right, Lo, let's get to some questions before we wrap it up. Turbo Herbo Chargers. Are we going to hear angels sing? That's a reference to Harbaugh saying that he thought he heard angels or saw angels when Herbert was back on the field. When the Chargers get a touchdown, will we hear James Earl Jones say, "I've been waiting for you" at the beginning of the Chargers-Raiders game? As we know, Jim loves Darth Vader. A lot of suggestions there for just kind of the game calls, Turbo Herbo. Remember, James Earl Jones was a Michigan guy, so that's kind of the other reason why he was part of it. But I wouldn't be surprised. I don't put anything past him. I'm anxious to see how they're going to roll that one out. All right, here we go. This one. Do you think Raider Week under Jim, and this is from Heavy Foot or Heavy Feet or Heavy FT, do you think Raider Week under Coach Harbaugh will have the same intensity as when Marty was at the helm? Lo, what was your favorite moment from a game when you beat down on the Raiders while wearing the Bolt?
I tell you, it was every moment, because Marty had you prepared to play that game. And I'll tell you right now, without a doubt, Harbaugh was there. Harbaugh was close with Marty. Harbaugh would come over. He understood the importance of this Raider Week. Harbaugh's going to have that same type of intensity. You know Harbaugh. He's going to be like, guys, and you got to realize, Antonio, a guy that he's going to be going against, he knows the type of coach he is. Harbaugh knows he wants to play physical and he wants to play Harbaugh's type of football. So this is going to be a very, very intense, no question, it's going to be an intense week with Raider Week, no question.
Why did Jim Harbaugh choose to come to the Chargers? Any behind-the-scenes stories that you can discuss regarding his hiring? We know he wanted another chance at a Lombardi. Can't believe he chose us over another NFL team sometimes. Captain Clutch, I do not have any behind-the-scenes info. I don't know if you do, Lo. I just assume you're looking at your options. The Raiders reportedly were interested before deciding to keep AP, but, you've got Justin Herbert. To me, that's the behind the scenes. This is a quarterback league. And when you can sign with a team that's got one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL, even when you're in a division with Patrick Mahomes, that's the job that you want. That's the job that you want to take. And I'm guessing it was a negotiation. Clearly, they not only paid him a ton of money and made him one of the highest paid coaches in the league, but they also told him to go pay a staff. So they gave him carte blanche and said, it's yours. I tip my cap to the Spanos family for doing that. A lot of times owners want to have their hands in everything. And to me, this hire shows that they were like, yeah, let's hire you. And what GM are you comfortable with? Let's go get that. And yeah, we'll pay Jesse Minter. We'll pay Ben Herbert. We'll pay Greg Roman. Yeah, we'll pay these guys. Let's scratch out the check. So, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts
No,
are and why do you think Jim chose the Bolts?
my thoughts are the same because he could have got the same type of money from the Raiders. I think you have a beautiful facility in the Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders have a beautiful facility. It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's nice, state of the art. It's brand new. I think when you look at the Chargers, like you said, they have a guy who's the Raiders quarterback. I'm still waiting. Exactly. So
Right.
you look at the Chargers, they have a quarterback. Harbaugh knows if you give him the right quarterback, look what he did with Kaepernick. Look what he did with Alex Smith. If you got Harbaugh with a good quarterback, better than average quarterback, this guy's going to win football games. He's going to find a way to win football games. He understands the Chargers have not won a Super Bowl. He understands the Chargers had some great teams. This is something that if Harbaugh can find a way to win a Super Bowl with the LA Chargers, this place, the city, even San Diego, everyone is going to erupt because of the fact this team has had so many great teams. Chuck Muncie, Kellen Winslow,
Right.
Dan Fouts, and Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, LT, never won a Super Bowl.
Lorenzo Neal.
If he can do that, there you go. And if he can do that, my goodness, it would be legendary.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing. He knows it's tough. He's not afraid of Patty Mahomes. That's why he jumped in this conference. He's not afraid of anyone. Harbaugh says, who's got it better than us?
Nobody.
And nobody. So that's what I love about this guy.
We are the storm. All right, here we go. As roster cuts start, do you expect a new backup center and quarterback? We kind of got through the quarterback thing. I think the suggestion is if something's available that they think is better, yes. Any other backup positions you would expect them to add? I would think how active we've been compared to previous years will continue to churn more of the roster backups. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely, Felipe. The churn, as soon as they realize, don't see this as the 53, let's move. Let's, that they've been great about that. And I think that's what you owe that to the player too. Give them as good an opportunity to catch on somewhere else as possible early in training camp. Center's been interesting and the only reason, and I appreciate Felipe being observant to recognize that, when you're working, Brendan Hymas is your backup. Bozeman's been out, but then you're seeing McFadden at center. You're seeing Foster Sorrell practice a little bit at center. It sends that signal of we're looking for something. So, again, I said it at the start. Like, man, O-linemen are tough to find. They are tough to find. It's just there's not a lot of them. And so the center's a little bit easier. That's a little bit less of a premium than a tackle, but it's changed. Football has changed the last 5-7 years where you want to be stout in the middle. Guys are comfortable escaping when pressure's coming off the edge because quarterbacks are so athletic now that they want to make sure that you do not get, worked immediately off the snap from the interior. So it's going to be hard to find someone. Guys, low teams hang on to those players.
Yeah, they do. And it's just interesting. Like you said, you're going to be stout in the middle. You don't want to get pushed in the middle because the quarterback wants to climb up in the pocket. He wants to step up. He doesn't want to go to the side. So you are that guard center, those positions, you have to be stout. Don't get pushed because quarterback now has, the defense sitting in his lap. That's a tough position to play from. So I think that when you just talk about overall, like you're saying, offensive linemen, they just don't grow those. Those guys, teams are going to keep those guys on their roster. I look at Harbaugh as a guy that's going to look at a guy that's on a bubble, a veteran guy that he says, you know what, this guy's probably done. He's going to probably keep that guy on for opening day and then say, look, this is what we're going to do. You know what? And then that next week, probably cut him. He's going to have a revolving door. Harbaugh is going to have some guys you're going to see going to bring in and out, but you probably more than likely, because of respect, you keep a veteran for that 1 week, and now his contract is guaranteed for the rest of the year. So if you decide to cut him, boom, now that guy's taken care of, and you can have that position now rotate. A guy that's out there on the streets that you can say, I can bring a guy when I play this position or this player. It's going to be a quarterback this week. It's going to be a defensive back 1 week. It's going to be an offensive line 1 week. It's going to be a linebacker. So you're going to have a position, I believe, or a player that's going to be revolving on this team this year.
That's a great point. And that's something that we really haven't had at all. So you're going to see a lot of in-season transactions just because that's the Baltimore philosophy. They've been one of the most active teams at constantly adding and looking. Can we upgrade here? Can we upgrade here? We didn't like the way this guy played special teams last week. Let's see if we can bring this player in and plug them in. You're going to see a lot of that throughout the season. All right, last one. How much can you bench Low and Matt?
I think I can still bench Matt. Matt, I know if you laid down, we got to do it.
I would hope so.
I can throw you around.
How much do you think I weigh? How much do you think I weigh? How much do you think I weigh, Low?
I'm going to say you're 170, 165, 175, 180. Higher, lower?
155, Low.
Matty, you're 155. I said 165, 170. Okay.
155, Low.
Oh, wow, Matty. You're still light, but you look good, though, Matt. You look great. You look healthy. You look sexy.
Yeah, oh, yeah. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And I guess the question is, can I bench my weight?
Of course.
I don't know. I don't work with straight bar anymore. I just have dumbbells in the garage because I don't go to a gym because I get in the water every day. So
smart.
Yeah,
better for your joint. Better for your joint.
If I had to guess, no.
If I had to bet, I guess I would say yes, you could, because you're still, because you're in the pool, you're in the water, you're still doing your push-ups. Man, I saw the arms. You're lean. You're still doing push-ups. You look like you're still getting the sit-ups in. So your body's going to do that. I still do 225. I can still knock it out 30 times, 25 to 30 times. Right.
That would win the combine.
I'm ready, Matty. I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do it from the gym one time for you. I'll record it for you and send it over to you.
Good. I won't. Oh, I just noticed this. Yes, I'm sorry. Lindsay, our executive producer. Hey, well, Lowe said Florida. It's the U. Of course, Walsh won the national championship. But you think about Florida and the Gators versus.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, the U is the U.
But that's okay. Hey, it prevents us from having to get all the incoming in the comments. So yeah, Walsh won the national championship. I don't remember when it was. Probably 80 anyway. 86, 87, 88, like right in there. They won the Natty. So thank you. There we go. Thank you, Lindsay. 1987. Perfect. Now you can't get in the comments and say it was you. It was the U, not Florida. All right. Great
Florida.
episode.
Where's the U at? Where's the U at, Money? It's in Florida.
Yeah, you don't want any of that. Instead, it's the U. So there's Luke Skywalker. I don't want Luther Campbell coming after us.
Okay, you're right. Sorry about that, guys.
All right,
it's been great.
Appreciate it. Great to have you back, Lo. We appreciate all your comments. Keep them coming. We love engaging. We love bringing them and making them part. This time next week, we'll have it all figured out. We'll know, which one, if I got this right, if I do have everyone included, and I got to figure out which one I'm plucking off of my 54 that needs to be 53. But looking forward to heading to Dallas. I Bleav they said it's a heat dome that is making its way through Dallas this weekend. So when I can combine triple digit temperature with 100% humidity, next time I talk to you, Lo, I'm gonna be down to like 152. So I got to go right now and just start. I got to start loading up, man. I got to go get some weight gain is what I got to do real quick. And then a pre-workout and then some squats. All right, Lo.
You're the best.
We'll be back next week. We appreciate you all. Thanks for watching, for subscribing, for commenting, for rating. This has been this week's Bleav in Chargers.
Cheers. We're out of here.